These acharyas, they are the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's the commander-in-chief. And what is he gifting? He is gifting the Supreme Lord himself. And we see very appropriate to what we discussed yesterday, the 28th verse. So Narad Muni, what he is saying? He developed love for God. And how did he develop love for God? By hearing from those Bhakti Vedantists. First, he developed love for them in terms of respect, in terms of desire to serve them. Because of it, he developed taste. Whatever qualities they were having, he received that qualities in his heart. You see, there's nothing new. But the point is that we don't want to accept the process. We are thinking that we will have some other process. Some other way we will try. You see, the 28th, I was just reading the 28th verse purport. Read. Sonika, it is no different. It is the same, what you read now. Transcendental loving service, show the purport of the 28th verse that we discussed yesterday.
Should I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, read. By the time they will open, please continue.
Transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord is the natural inclination of every living being. The instinct is dormant in everyone, but due to the association of material nature, the modes of passion and ignorance cover this from time immemorial. If, by the grace of the Lord and the great soul devotees of the Lord, a living being become fortunate enough to associate with the unadulterated devotees of the Lord and gets a chance to hear the unadulterated glories of the Lord, certainly the flow of devotional service takes place like a flow of a river. As the river.
Wait. See how beautiful it is. It is, this love is already there. But due to rajas and tamas, this love has been covered. And how it can be uncovered? Then when one comes in the association of satam prasanga. Satam means devotee, pure devotee. Who is a pure devotee? Here Prabhupada is explaining who is a pure devotee. Who has unadulterated, who can glorify the Lord, unadulterated glories of the Lord. So if he associates with such devotees of the Lord, to hear the unadulterated glories of the Lord, the flow of devotional service takes place. So how can we know that we are hearing? And even if while we are physically hearing, the heart is not hearing, the devotional service flow will not happen. As the river flows on till it reaches the sea. This is what Kunti Maharani is praying. Very beautiful prayer she has. Tvai me ananna vishya matir madhupate sakret rati udvati adha angavugam. I think it is 1:8 and somewhere around 38 to 40. Just Manoram, check this. This is what her desire is. That let the flow of my heart be towards you as naturally as the river flows. And it does not stop till it reaches the ocean bed. So let that flow begin. You please kindly, you have to see. I don't remember. No, not this verse. Tvai me ananya vishya matir madhu prate sukrit. Go next. Okay. Next. Okay, it is next. 41. Next verse. Yeah, this is the verse. Tvai me ananya vishya Mathir madhupate sakret ratim udvahadadha angamudhanvati. So what he is saying, let my matir. Matir means my consciousness, my attention, my awareness, my awakening be towards you. And I will develop ratim. Ratim means attention or attachment. And how that attention and attachment should develop like the flow. So the translation, O Lord of Madhu, come down. As the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance. And not ordinary river, like the Ganges. So the Ganges of devotion or devotional service which flows from the heart without hindrance. Let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So this is perfection of pure devotional service is attained when all attention is diverted toward the transcendental loving service of the Lord. To cut off the tie of all other affection, go down, show me the purport. I'm reading for the purport. Does not mean complete negation of final elements like affection for someone else. This is not possible. Prabhupada is very practical. A living being, whoever he may be, must have his feelings of affection for others because it is a symptom of life. The symptom of life, such as desire, rancor, hankerings, feelings of attraction, etc., cannot be annihilated. Only the objective has to be changed. Desire cannot be negated. But in devotional service, the desire is changed only for the service of the Lord in place of desire for self gratification. The so-called affection for family, society, country, etc. consists of different phases of self gratification. Very strong, very clear. The so-called affection for family, society, country consists of different phases of sense gratification. Prabhupada writes such a strong statement also in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada gives one-liner, punch. Anyone remembers? It is in the second chapter. What he says? What does attachment mean? No one remembers. You have to read the purport. See the rasa. This flow is there in the tatparya. There where the bhava is. And from bhava, it is flowing towards prema. So you have to be bhavgrahi or sargrahi to be able to see the flow which is coming from the heart of Srila Prabhupada when he's giving. So he said, I am giving this purport as my ecstasies. Yes, there Srila Prabhu. Where Prabhupada writes?
Probably this is skin disease in the
Yes, skin disease. But Prabhupada says attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification. And of course, it also is a skin disease. But here we see Narad Muni, he developed intense attachment for these sages. And whatever was there in the heart, that love of God which was there in the heart, or that attention and attraction which was there in the heart of those sages, it flowed naturally in the heart of Narad Muni. And here Prabhupada is saying, as the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly pure devotional service flows by the association of pure devotee till it reaches the ultimate goal, namely the transcendental love of God. So Narad Muni attained it. Narad Muni, by the Sangha and the Mahat Seva and Mahat Kripa, he achieved the final stage of the, which is love. He attained prema. So we will take the 29th verse. It is why this study has been given, so that we can see that what is the process. The person is also mentioned and the process is also mentioned. How we can make progress it is clearly demonstrated. So first the instruction was there, which was there given to Vyasadeva. But now Narad Muni is giving his own personal example. That how he elevated to come to this stage of Bhakti Shakti. One moment, I'm opening. Can you see this screen? The verse?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is visible.
So we'll take the 29th verse. He says, tasyaivaṁ anuraktasya praśritasya hatainasaḥ śraddadhānasya bālasya dāntasya anucarasya. I was very much attached to those sages. Anuraktasya evam mein anuraktasya. I was gentle in behavior. This is quality is mentioned. It was mentioned, 3 qualities were mentioned before also. That he was very disciplined. He was very obedient. And what was the third one? Who remembers? What was the third quality of Narad Muni? Yes, Purushottam Prabhu. बोलिए बोलो पुरुषोत्तम. We are not able to hear you. आप लोग को सुनाई दे रहा है?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
हाँ बोलिए.
Prabhu, he followed.
वो तो obedient हो गया ना. What was the first quality? That is the most important quality. Otherwise, one cannot follow. Yes, Ravindra Prabhu.
Prabhuji, he is disciplined.
Disciplined और obedient तो मैं बता ही रहा हूँ. Yes, Gopal.
Attentive hearing, Prabhuji.
ठीक से पढ़ नहीं रहे ना सुन रहे हैं. Yes, Pranab Prabhu. This is the last chance.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. He is Tulla Darshina.
No.
Equal and
No, you are not ready.
self-bhashana.
No. The first 3 qualities, the first quality which is mentioned. Yes, Pradeep Prabhu.
He speaks less.
That is later. It is all later. That will all come later. The first and the foremost quality. Yes, Ramya. She will speak and you hear.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are self-controlled.
It is the first quality. The foremost quality is Dante, self-control. Without having control, there is no question of any discipline. And without self-control and discipline, there is no question of any obedience. Other things will come later. These are the 3 foundational qualities. Without this, there is no question of any progress. Okay. So Narad Muni is saying the first, again he is saying that by his obedience and by his discipline and by serving them and by receiving their remnants, all his sins were completely eradicated, eliminated, and he developed intense attachment for them. Anuraktasya, and he was praśritasya, obedient, and freed from enasaḥ, from all the sins. And what developed? Śraddadhānasya. I was gentle in behavior and all my sins were eradicated in their service. So another clue. How one can be free from sins? Not by performing rituals, by performing devotional service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, which is dāntasya. Again, Dante was there previously. If you see the verse, in 24th verse, the verse, he says, Dante dhrita kridanake anuvritani. Dante means that he was having the control of the senses. Again, it is being mentioned here that dāntasya anucarasya. Dante means that he subjugated. What is subjugated? You understand what is subjugation? Who understands subjugation? Is to control. So what he had controlled? His mind and senses. So dāntasya. And anucarasya. Anucarasya means to strictly follow with body and mind. So these are the necessary qualifications of a prospective candidate who can expect to be elevated to the position of a pure, unadulterated devotees. Such a candidate must always seek the association of pure. What is the first thing? How one becomes a pure devotee? By being in association of a pure devotee. Same thing Prabhupada says, that how does one become Mahatma? One becomes Mahatma by coming in the association of a Mahatma and by strictly following the Mahatma. Where Krishna is speaking this in Bhagavad Gita, in the 9th chapter. Mahatma nastu mam partha devim prakritim ashrita bhajanti ananya manso yatva mam bhutadim avyayam. I think it is 9:13. Manoram Prabhu, show 9:13. How one becomes a lawyer? By being under the training of a lawyer. How one becomes a doctor? We were discussing the word apprentice. किसने बताया था? Apprentice गोपाल ने बताया था. Apprentice का मतलब क्या है? That he is under the guidance and training of an expert person. So a person who is new or unknown, he also learns. Yeah, 9.30. Come down. In the Purport, Prabhupada is saying that how does one become Mahatma? So here Prabhupada is saying how does one become a pure devotee? Come down. Prabhupada says, the Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. This is the most important part. Okay, close it. One should not be misled by a pseudo-devotee. This is also very important. To find a pure devotee is very difficult, but to be able to be not misled by pseudo-devotee is also very difficult. He must himself be plain and gentle to receive the instruction of such a pure devotee. A pure devotee is completely surrendered soul unto the personality of Godhead. He knows the personality of Godhead as the supreme proprietor and all others as his servitors. And by the association of pure devotees only, one can get rid of all sins accumulated by mundane association. So Narad Muni is himself saying that all my sins were eradicated. A neophyte devotee, neophyte, Neo means new, and fight means devotee who always finds faults or who has fights. Must faithfully serve a pure devotee. And he should be very much obedient and strictly follow the instructions. These are the signs of a devotee who is determined to achieve success even in the existing duration of life. A very important learning, very important example or the standard which is being set by Sri Narad Muni. And what he received, what blessing did he receive? Out of the loving service that he performed, he developed attraction, he was hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord, his transcendental pastimes. He received Jnanam Guhya Tamam Yattat Sakshat Bhagavadoditam Anuvachana Grimishyanta Kripayadina Vatsala. So Narad Muni received the Jnanam, the knowledge which is Guhya Tamam, most confidential knowledge. Jnanam Guhya Tamam Yattat. As they were leaving, the Bhakti Vedantas, who were very kind to poor-hearted soul, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is Sakshat Bhagavat Uditam, which is directly spoken by the Supreme Lord. Where he has spoken it? In Bhagavad Gita. Param Guhya Gyan, most confidential knowledge. And he says, Anvo Vachan Gamishyanta. Gamishyanta means to go. And Anvo Vachan means they gave instructions. So they instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the Personality of Godhead himself. So this is the advantage of being in association and receiving their mercy in the form of instruction. And the instruction is the same, what is the instruction given by the Supreme Lord himself. A pure Vedantist or a Bhakti Vedanta instruct followers exactly according to the instructions of the Lord himself. This is very important. Otherwise, that person is not a pure devotee. He is a pseudo-devotee. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in other scriptures, has definitely instructed men to follow the Lord only. The Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing by his will. And by his will, when the whole show is finished, he will remain in his eternal abode with all his paraphernalia. Before the creation, he was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation, he will continue to remain. He is not therefore one of the created beings. This is what? What is this? So many times we see, the same thing we have heard so many times, again and again, that he is the creator, he is the maintainer, he is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor. What is this? What Gyan is this? This is Param Guhya Gyan. Not easy. Has it been registered in our heart? Has it, are we convinced? Why? Because we have not developed taste. Our sins have still not been finished. So even after hearing them or even after reading them again and again, the Lord is the creator, maintainer, and lighter of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing only by his will. So we only hear and we do not register it or we do not act upon it. Why? Because still we are not convinced. But this is the most confidential knowledge, and even once it was spoken to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni is completely convinced. He has accepted this. Param Guhya Gyan. He is transcendental. The Bhagavad Gita Lord says that long, long before the instruction was imparted to Arjuna, the same was instructed to the sun god. That in course of time, the same instruction being wrongly handled and being broken was again instructed to Arjuna, because he is the Lord's perfect devotee and friend. What are these verses from the 4th chapter? Anyone remembers? What is the verse? Bolo, it should be immediate. Pradeep, what is the verse number? You recite the verse.
4.2. Evam parampara praptum nimam rajarshyo vidu sakalena
Sa kalena mahata
yoganashta
yoganashta parantapa. Then what is the next verse? Sa evaṁ maya teyatya yoga prokta puratana bhaktosi me sakha cheti rasyami etad uttamam. Unless and until it is bhaktosi me sakha cheti, never the rahasyam, the uttamam rahasya, or the most confidential knowledge will never be revealed. So Narad Muni received this most confidential knowledge in his heart. So Prabhupada is saying, because he was Lord's perfect devotee and friend, therefore the instruction of the Lord can be understood only by devotees. No one else, the impersonalist, who have no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord, cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The expression most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far, far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnana means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, please mute. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Okay. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to the knowledge of Paramatma or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. What is confidential? That we are not this body, we are soul. That is Brahman. Brahman realization, first level of realization. But what is higher? That we have our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is seated there in the heart of everyone is Paramatma. So that is Guhyatara. First is Guhya, confidential. The other is Guhyatara. It is more confidential. But what is the final? But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. But when one is engaged in the loving devotional service of the Lord, one comes to realize that he is part and parcel of the Supreme. And his constitutional position is to perform devotional service. Then he comes to the realization of Bhagavan. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjun, Uddhava, etc. And the same knowledge has been imparted by Narad Muni. The Bhaktivedantas have imparted this knowledge to Narad Muni. Yena evam bhagavato vasudevasya vedasa maya anubhavam avidyam yena gachanti tatpadam. By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Krishna. Which energy? Maya anubhavam avidam. That he could understand the influence of the illusionary energy of the Lord. The creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. By devotional service or by most confidential knowledge. So please, this is the same. What is, who has understood what is most confidential knowledge, if I may ask? What is most confidential knowledge? What is param guhya gyan? What is the guhya tamam? Most confidential knowledge. बताइए। सुन रहे हैं ना? What is most confidential knowledge? Yes, Gopal?
प्रभु जी भगवत गीता।
नहीं, वो तो है। भगवत गीता में सारा भगवान ने चैप्टर मोस्ट कॉन्फिडेंशियल नॉलेज नहीं। व्हाट इज मोस्ट कॉन्फिडेंशियल नॉलेज, ये क्या पूछ रहा? वो तत्व है क्या?
बैक टू गॉड है।
नहीं यार, इन प्रॉपर कंटेक्स्ट बोलिए, नहीं तो सुनिए आप। अगर आप सुनेंगे नहीं तो आप समझ नहीं पाएंगे। मैं आपको पहले कई बार बोल चुका हूँ, ये प्लेटफॉर्म ज्ञान रिसीव करने का है, नॉट अदरवाइज। अगर आपने सुना है, आपको ध्यान है, आपने पढ़ा है, तो बोलिए। और अगर आप तीर तुक्के मारेंगे तो वो कभी लगेंगे नहीं, वो हमेशा फेल होंगे। बोलिए। प्रभुपाद जी ने बहुत बार लिखा है, हमने भगवत गीता में कई बार पढ़ा है। व्हाट इज मोस्ट कॉन्फिडेंशियल नॉलेज, इधर ही लिखा है, इसी पैराग्राफ में लिखा है, कहीं और जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। अभी और क्या आंसर तो बता दिया। कमाल है आप लोग का, किधर फोकस है? बोलिए प्रियंका।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The
अरे,
most confidential knowledge is to realization of Bhagwanity. And he creates, maintains, sustains, but he is aloof from them.
but how can one realize the most confidential knowledge?
By devotional service.
Yeah. Prabhupada says the most confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. 9th chapter. 9th chapter, I think in the first purport itself, Prabhupada is explaining. That the most confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Here it also Prabhupada is saying clearly. See. By devotional service or by the most confidential knowledge. So what are this? It's the same. By devotional service or by the most confidential knowledge, one can understand very easily how the different energies of the Lord are working. This is what Vyasadeva saw. How different energies of the Lord are working. One part of his energy is manifesting the material world, and the other superior part of the energy is manifesting the spiritual world. And his intermediate energy is manifesting the living entities who are serving either of the above mentioned energies. The living entities serving the material energies are struggling hard for existence. Which verse is this? The living entities serving the material energy are struggling hard for existence. And the happiness which is presented to them is illusionary. Which verse is this? बोलिए। हमने पढ़ा है इसको भगवत गीता में, तो बहुत चर्चा की है। बोलो गणेश। आप तो बोलोगे नहीं, बोलेंगे मुझे पता नहीं। देवदत्त।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, पता नहीं प्रभु जी।
पता नहीं। बोलिए दयाशील प्रभु।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is 15.7 Prabhuji.
Yes.
ममेवांश जीवलोके जीवभूत सनातन मनसस्थाने इंद्रियाणि प्रकृति
प्रकृति स्थाने कार्षति, स्ट्रगलिंग वेरी हार्ड। कार्षति कितना डिस्कस किया था हमने पुरुषोत्तम योग में, पूरा 1 महीने डिस्कस किया था। लेकिन अभी क्या करें, वो कारशति को समाप्त नहीं करना चाहते। वो इस लाइफ भी रहेगा और नेक्स्ट लाइफ भी हम इंश्योर करना चाहते हैं कि वी वांट टू रिमेन इन दैट कारशति। तो डिजायर कार लेने का है ना, डिजायर इज टू हैव कार, so one has to have, one will be in कारशति, struggling very hard. Prabhupada says, here it is say, they are struggling hard for existence, and the happiness which is presented to them is illusionary. But those in the spiritual energy are placed under the direct service of the Lord is in eternal life, complete knowledge and perpetual bliss. The Lord desires, as he directly said in the Bhagavad Gita, that all conditioned soul rotting in the kingdom of material energy come back to him by giving up all engagements in this material world. This is the most confidential part of knowledge. What is the verse? Which Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that all conditioned souls rotting in the kingdom of material energy come back to him by giving up all engagements in this material world. What verse is this? Very powerful verse. कौन सी इंस्ट्रक्शन है कृष्णा की? सोच रहे हैं आप लोग, हमको पता नहीं है? Only one hand is up. Pranab Prabhu?
Sorry, Prabhuji, I don't know.
You're not sorry. You're very unfortunate. Try to understand. This is nothing new, but Prabhupada has presented in a different way. किसी को नहीं पता है? अरे सबसे मोस्ट पॉपुलर वर्स ऑफ भगवद गीता। सारे लोगों को पूछो भगवद गीता क्या है, वो बोलेंगे ये वर्स बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं बिना किसी अंडरस्टैंडिंग के। अभी कुछ जला, बत्ती जली, हाँ, इधर दिमाग की नहीं दिल की बत्ती जलानी पड़ेगी। दिमाग में जो बत्ती लगी है वो तो हमेशा बुझी ही है, उस बत्ती से कुछ नहीं दिखेगा। जो दिल की बत्ती है वो जलेगी तब दिखेगा, वरना दिखेगा नहीं। बोलो देवदत्त, अभी दिख गया?
प्रभु जी सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य
लेकिन हम करेंगे, हम करेंगे। हाँ, ये बता रहे भगवान, गिव अप ऑल एंगेजमेंट, नॉनसेंस एंगेजमेंट इन दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड। This is the most confidential part of knowledge, but this can be understood only by pure devotees. And only such devotees enter the kingdom of God to see him personally and serve him personally. Prabhupada ne laga diya condition. It can only be understood by pure devotees. The concrete example is Narad himself, who attained this stage of eternal knowledge and eternal bliss. And the ways and means are open to all, provided one agrees to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni. Why Prabhupada has to write that provided one agrees to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni? Because he knows hardly one will agree. Everyone else will disagree. According to Shruti, the Supreme Lord has unlimited energies without effort by him. And these are described under the three principal headings as above mentioned. What are the three principal energies? Maya Shakti, then spiritual potency and the Jiva Shakti. So Narad Muni has received the Divyajnana. This is the perfection of a guru-disciple relationship, that he receives the transcendental knowledge in the heart, and that transcendental knowledge uplifts him and qualifies him to come to the spiritual platform and attain life of eternal existence, complete knowledge, and spiritual bliss. Hare Krishna, I'll stop here. Every day I'm asking if there is any question, but there is no question. How much we are agreeing? Prabhupada is saying, provided we agree. Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you discussed today the verse of Kunti and prayers from Kunti Maharani. There it was mentioned a lot of Madhu. So Prabhuji, Madhu is that demon only, na?
Madhupate. Pate means the husband. I have to see in which connection Kunti Devi is speaking. Kunti Devi is a very, very special devotee, and she has very special relationship with the Lord. She has Vatsalya also. She has Dasya also. So the Madhupati is not the killer of the demon. Demon Madhu. Then Krishna is known as Madhusudana. But here she is addressing Krishna as Madhupate. Now open that verse. It is 1:842. You have to do a little bit of research. One meaning of Madhupati, but I am not sure, so I will not speak. Krishna is one who tastes the nectar. Madhupate. Madhu is also nectar. Krishna was the enjoyer of the ambrosial nectar. Okay, so of course it is not the killer of the Madhu demon. Arjuna sarcastically says, right? Katam bhishmam aham sankhe dronam cha madhusudana. In the second chapter, in the 5th verse, Arjuna is saying, Katam bhishmam aham sankhe dronam cha madhusudanam. Ishu bhi pratiyotsyami pujara varisudana. You are Madhusudan, you are Arisudan, and what you are making me? To become Bhishma Sudan and Drona Sudan. I will not do that. I will not do that. You do it. You are Arisudan. For you, Drona and Bhishma will be enemies, so you kill. Why you are asking me? Why you are forcing me? There is a different rasa. There is a different rasa. Because Arjuna is showing resilience. He is not agreeing to what Krishna is speaking. So he is arguing. But here Kunti Devi is praying from her heart that let that flow be from my heart as the Ganges is flowing. And Krishna is, she is addressing Krishna as Madhupate. Okay? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Please keep revising. Sonika, which verse was that? From the fifth chapter only? The one that you were mentioning, that you were reading?
Yes, Prabhuji. 16th verse.
16. Every translation, every purport, even word meaning is filled with the, reservoir of nectar. But how much we are able to extract? And even after extracting, how much we are able to take it to our taste buds and feel that flavor and aroma of it. Hare Krishna.